Business is picking up in Thunder Valley. The NASCAR Sprint Cup drivers are ready for their final practice here at Bristol Motor Speedway for tomorrow's Food City 500 that you'll see on Fox. Beautiful day for racing. Look at that, not a cloud in the sky. 63 degrees ambient, 75 degrees on the concrete, and just a light bit of a breeze as we get ready for final practice. Let's go trackside to Dick Berggren.
And the biggest breeze is probably car number 48, Jimmie Johnson. He is so hot at Bristol, had never won here, but this weekend may well be his best shot at it. He was fourth in practice earlier. He won practice here just about an hour ago today. He qualified fourth, and moments ago he told me that the lights started going on as to what he needed to do at this place about a year and a half ago. He says it is now burning brightly. Car 48, Johnson, has won half of the point races so far this year. Chris Devoda.
Well, Dick, what about the opposite end of the spectrum? Kyle Busch is almost automatic here. Won both races last year, but they are struggling in the 18 camp. In fact, 37th quick at Bristol in the last practice. When was the last time you heard that about Kyle Busch? I talked to Dave Rogers, his crew chief. He said they were loose all day yesterday, practice and qualifying. So they tightened it up in that first practice and went too far. They're going to go back on some of their changes. Mike?
And this morning was no better for Kyle Busch. He was running down the ramp to qualify his nationwide car. Reason he was late? They forgot to advance the clocks in his motor coach to daylight savings time.
The hits just kept on coming.
By the way, it's 12:19 Eastern. In Baltimore, it's 10:42. Time for the 11 o'clock news. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup final practice from Bristol is brought to you by AutoZone. For the auto parts, accessories, and advice you need, get in the zone. AutoZone. By the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, enter it. And by Harley-Davidson, the Ride Easy Guarantee going on now at your Harley-Davidson dealer. Juan Pablo Montoya's put the fast time up on the board quickly. Jimmie Johnson betters that.
You know what, Mike? It's interesting about this 48 car, Jimmie Johnson, Chad Canals here at Bristol. They have 16 starts here. They have not had a lot of great success. It's one of only 6 tracks that he's not won at. He only has 3 top 5. But what I read this week, he said, you know, we came here race after race with our teammate Jeff Gordon's setup. Why not? The man's won 5 races here and led almost 2,500 laps. He said finally about a year and a half ago, we concluded I cannot drive Jeff Gordon's setup at Bristol, Tennessee. So they've started working on their own package. He didn't have great finishes last year, but he actually ran pretty good in both races.
Isn't it funny, Larry, how everyone outside the garage area talks about how the COT, the Car of Today platform, are all alike. They're cookie cutter cars. The templates are so close, there's no room left for innovation, and yet hardly anybody in this garage can drive anybody else's race car.
Well, I think that's one of the things that Junior got condemned for last year when you look at the fact that he had 3 teammates that were the top 3 in points and winning races, and he was struggling winning races, struggling in the points. He cannot drive what Jimmie Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Mark Martin run, and that makes it a little more complicated.
Similar story at the Roush camp, where Roush Fenway camp, where Greg Biffle likes a really loose race car, and to varying degrees less so as you go down the list of his teammates, including Matt Kenseth, who right now has the 2nd fastest lap of this session.
Tell you what, this is a car we better watch tomorrow. When you see Matt Kenseth qualify up in the top 10 like he did, qualifying 7th, he was pretty solid in that first practice session. 2nd right now, this could be a trip that Roush Fenway makes to victory lane for the first time in a long time, with the exception of that restrictor plate win by McMurray at Talladega.
Hey guys.
How are you?
Daryl.
How's practice going?
Did they forget to reset your clock too? Kyle Busch was struggling with that earlier.
I would like to. I have no excuse.
I'm going to fade the heat for this one because in the meeting with NASCAR, Daryl says, what time are we on? 12:30? And I said, 12:30, 12:40. And
Yeah.
so
Thereabouts.
sorry, my
No,
bad.
it's okay. I should have looked.
My bad. Glad you could join us.
I was just working on 12:30, so
That's right.
things happen fast around here. I don't know
Yes,
if you've
they
noticed
do.
that or not.
Yes, they do. Jimmie quickest, Matt 2nd, Montoya 3rd, Mark Martin and Joey Logano, the pole sitter for this race, in the top 5 in the first 3 minutes of this practice.
Now, you know, It's an interesting shot there. Normally, I'm used to seeing Dale Jr. with that steering wheel a little closer to him than it seems like it is today. Got a little room in here, a little distance in here, more than normal looks like. Maybe he's going to have to work on it. Maybe he's going to fight it a little bit more than normal. You just notice, watch his hands though. You just turn left all the time, even down the straightaway. You never really get this. You just kind of hold the wheel in that one spot the whole time.
You know, Mike, talking about the Hendrick Motorsports Group, when you look back at that first practice session, all of them ran a bunch of laps, and all 4 of those drivers were in the top 8 in that practice.
That's true. Now, Darrell makes a great point, because this is the first 500 lap race that we have had this year, and we have the shortest straightaways on the circuit. So the difference from hand position in the middle of the corner to the middle of the straightaway is less than a quarter turn. It's very, very little.
It is, and you can see how much closer Denny Hamlin is than what we saw in Dale Jr.'s car there. And an interesting thing, I heard Jeff Gordon talking about this. He said there's 2 places that really are physically demanding to him. And you won't believe, this is one of them. Guess where the other one is?
It's not what we would think, is it?
Indianapolis?
Watkins Glen.
Wow.
He said that this racetrack and Watkins Glen are the 2 racetracks that tire him out physically more than any place else. The road course, because you're turning left and right, and we're not accustomed, you know, just your body, if you think about your body language, you're not used to going to the right so much.
CC's Pizza gives us a look at Bristol. Just over half a mile is the lap distance. Variable banking makes the top groove as fast as the bottom once it gets rubbered up. Even banking on the straightaways, that's just for drainage, and because there's very little room left to transition the turns, because as you saw, the straightaways are so short.
What kind of drainage did you have in mind?
Well, let's see. There's draining rainwater, and there's draining race cars off the banking. That's probably more what.
That's more what it was designed for.
That's it. The self-cleaning racetrack.
Yep.
If you will.
Better, a lot better. But
Kyle Busch, you talked about him at the top of the show, Mike. Struggled in qualifying, struggled in practice yesterday earlier, and but it sounds like they're making baby step gains on it right now.
Jamie McMurray pops up into the top 5. He is 4th quickest. Tomorrow, NASCAR race day storms into Thunder Valley. The dust has settled from Atlanta. They'll weigh in on Carl Edwards' probation. Talk live with Atlanta winner Kurt Busch. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot, live tomorrow, 10 Eastern. Only on Speed. There's a look at the close confines of trying to work on your car and get things done here at Bristol. The haulers are packed in the infield, a foot apart. The pit crews don't work off the back of the hauler. The garage area is that in name only, and everyone works right out here on pit road, where the cars pull into a stall to the attention of the crews with the toolbox, the war wagon, located behind the wall there. Kurt Busch, a winner at Atlanta, starting outside pole, and certainly, Dick, must rank as a favorite for tomorrow.
Well, absolutely, Mike, because he's had so much success at this place. Won his first Cup race here, and he's been fast during practice. But in that practice, the beginning of this practice, he only ran a couple of laps. Told the crew he didn't like the way the car was behaving. Middle of the corner, coming out of the corner as well. He's 16th on the board. He brought it in. They changed the front anti-roll bar and the preload in it. Then Kurt's back out to see if he's more comfortable with the car that way.
Roger Penske, Kurt's car owner, who had a busy morning. He and Jack Roush, along with their drivers Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski, met this morning with NASCAR officials in a meeting that lasted long enough that both Edwards and Keselowski had to be excused from their qualifying draw positions to qualify for this afternoon's nationwide race.
Yeah, you know, normally you don't see Roger at the track on Saturday. He usually comes in Sunday morning, spots, and soon figuring on how they do, he'll either go to the victory circle or he'll go back home.
That's exactly right. And actually, Brad Keselowski's on the pole for that Nationwide Series race. And I think Carl Edwards may be 4th in row 2.
You know what they say, keep your friends close.
Keep your powder dry and your enemies closer. Yeah, that's true. Greg Biffle, 19th in this session so far.
Whoa, whoa.
How about that shot?
No, man, that's making me dizzy right there. Holy cow.
That is bug on the bumper cam.
Look at that.
How you like that?
Now we got some.
Look at the track now, Darrell. This is something we've been monitoring since the track opened for practice yesterday, how black it's turning into corners. And I think that's the reason now these cars look like they're in the racetrack. They have grip. The blacker it gets, the more rubber that's going down. And I think by the time this Nationwide Series race is over, it'll look almost like asphalt.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me, I think it was a year or so ago at Dover, and here we got another. This is a great shot. Oh, this, you talking about paying dividends. Wait till tomorrow when this thing is stuck right up the back end of somebody. It's
Literally.
Really good.
Well, it's not proctologist cam, Darrell.
No,
it's
well,
just bumper cam.
Front nose to rear bumper, you know?
Just listen how little bit you're in the throttle, how early they roll out.
I guess that didn't sound right, did it? I just kind of replayed that.
We knew what you meant.
I just replayed that. I guess you could take that all wrong if you wanted to.
And I'm sorry I did, but only for a minute. By the way, here's same song, second verse.
You're talking about a splitter and a bumper. That's what we're talking about.
A bumper.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you're looking back. Just think when that front one meets this back one.
And you're going back down that road again.
Whoa. Man, we got them covered this week. Look at this. Front cam, rear cam, face cam.
This is going to be fun.
Cam shaft.
Now, if we can hold that shot, let's watch Mark's wheel go from there and in the middle of the corner down to there. Not a whole lot of turning.
But the banking probably helps that to some degree, doesn't it, Darrell? We talked about 26 to 30 degrees of banking.
Yeah, I mean, the best way I can explain it, the car wants to go right and you want to go left.
Yeah.
And so you got to really tug on that wheel to convince that car, baby, we got to go around this corner. The other amazing thing is how, if you put that bumper cam down there on the track and how quickly you get around here. I mean, it's short straightaway through the corner, short straightaway through the corner, lap done.
Yeah, 16 seconds. You completed one of 500 laps. Jimmy Johnson still quickest. Get ready to discover NASCAR Nation's next great superstar on Fast Track to Fame. Join Michael Waltrip as America's most unique performers cut loose each week and compete for a chance to become a star. All new episode Monday on Speed.
Larry, watching these race cars go around the track today versus watching them go around the track yesterday.
Like we're at a different racetrack.
Like a whole different world.
Yep.
Joey Logano won practice yesterday, and he will start this race from the pole. Krista.
Yeah, Mike, it's been a really good weekend for Joey Logano until the first run of this practice. Joey said he could not turn through the center of the corners at all. The car too tight in the center of the turns. They made changes, went back out. He said, okay, boys, now the center is fine. Now I have issues, entry and exit.
That's Bristol. You know, you fix that center out. So many drivers talk about the car rolling the center.
Look at the back of Zippy's shirt. I mean, this is a New England thing. Usually you have your name up there. Wicked quick.
But when you think about it, that's the first pole that the 20 car has had since Martinsville, October of 2005, 152 races ago.
Wow.
That's the last pole that Tony Stewart. Here's another interesting fact. When Joey Logano won at Loudon last year, he set a new record, a new mark for the youngest driver to win a Sprint Cup Series race. Who did he knock off the top of the podium? Kyle Busch. Yesterday, when he sat on the pole at 19 years old, 9 months and 23 days, who did he knock off by 1 day? By 1 day as being the youngest pole sitter in Sprint Cup? Kyle Busch again.
It's been a good weekend for Kyle Busch.
No, it hasn't.
In several respects.
He said he did win the Wii box.
Yeah, he mentioned that on trackside last night, that he'd done a lot of things right in the offseason, and so far none of them have paid off.
In fact, he said he might just go back to being rotten again.
Yeah, he said. He said I'm normally the one stirring the pot. He said, and I haven't been this year, and I've been really proud of myself, but it's really not working.
Nope.
Been watching this little car right here. Right now, he's 9th quickest. Regan's 5th in that 78 car. Quietly at Atlanta with all the fireworks that were happening, had a good top 15 run. Actually qualified in the top 20 yesterday.
What's helping this team, Larry, is they get to run every week. That's making it, I think, making them a much more consistent performer because they're at the racetrack every week. That limited schedule is hard just to show up.
It sounds good on paper,
Yeah,
but it looks good on paper, but it just doesn't work out normally.
Casey Kane had a big night last night down at Volunteer Speedway, about 40 miles southwest of here. Casey's driver Joey Saldana won the World of Outlaws race, while Tony Stewart Racing's Steve Kinzer finished second.
I believe Casey set a new, I think I read he set a new track record last night.
Wow.
Casey did.
Yep.
And his car won the race.
So he's doing triple duty.
Yeah, because he's running a Nationwide Series race, and of the most laps run in that first practice, this 9 car completed the most, 77 laps total, which sounds like a lot, but as you mentioned, 15, 16 seconds, that goes by in a hurry.
If you're coming to Bristol, the Outlaws race again tonight.
Yeah.
Volunteer Speedway.
To the west of us.
Yeah, that's right.
If you go out and run 10 laps here, you won't even get your water hot. You got to run at least 15 or 20, 30.
Yeah, because of a fuel run here, and we'll see people stay out a lot on caution just for track positions, about 140 to 150 laps.
Kevin Harvick hard at work. He is 25th on the speed chart. About 16 flat.
You know, I loved his post-race comment on the radio, because you look back at Atlanta 2 weeks ago, qualified 35th, ran 25th or worst almost all day long, and when the checkered flag waved, they were 9th, and he said, guys, that's something we could not do the last couple of years.
Look into that cockpit and see what is missing from a lot of these drivers' cockpits 2 weeks ago at Atlanta, and we talked about it during the telecast. I haven't seen any white gloves.
There may be a good reason for that.
Right.
Oh, now I get it now.
Yeah,
I'm a little slow, but I get it.
No, it's okay.
Larry, if it fits,
Wear it.
Well, now here's another thing that
the
wasn't
glove
there 2
fits,
weeks
you
ago,
must quit.
and we want to mention it, is that decal down the lower left.
Yeah.
Get well, Jeff Bird, the president of this speedway, undergoing treatment for an illness. In the hospital, not able to be here with, as he put it, 150,000 of his closest friends tomorrow. And Jeff's been a mainstay of this sport for a long, long time with the Winston brand when they sponsored the sport. And for some time now, I think 15 years as president of this racetrack. And we miss you, buddy, and hope you can hurry back to the track.
Yes, sir. He and his wife are just really dear friends and good folks.
Speed's coverage of NASCAR's Sprint Cup final practice is brought to you by Hamburger Helper. 1 pound, 1 pan, 1 tasty meal.
How long is this practice?
And by, we're sending Daryl to Hot Tub Time Machine. It's rated R, but in theaters everywhere, March 26th. See more at kicksomePast.com.
How many people does that hot tub seat?
Haven't seen the movie yet. Previews look pretty good.
I like a good preview.
Jeff Burton is 17th with a lap of 16:22. On his last lap, 15:93 on his quickest lap so far. And here's Jamie McMurray. Krista, he has the 4th fastest lap of this session.
Yeah, Mike, Jamie says the car is pretty good, especially up top, but he needs it to be a little more free in order to run the bottom. He said on the last run it definitely turns better, but he's still lacking, what else? Rear grip.
Well, and that's the thing that you fight here. You know, you want to work on first things first, as we talk a lot about each and every week. Get that thing to rotate and turn right in the middle of the corner. And then the next challenge is getting the rear to hook up under acceleration. And these guys actually have the lowest gear that NASCAR's allowed them to run here in a long time. They lowered it from last year to a 567 gear.
Why'd they make that change, Larry?
They wanted to keep the RPM, max RPM, pretty close in relationship to all the other racetracks. In qualifying, of course, they really buzzed them up there. In fact, we heard a lot of cars hit the rev limiter, but in race trim, the pace slows down, so it got the RPM back up.
Passing gear. Got to have that passing gear.
Mark Martin, 5th in this practice. Dick?
He's been fast in every single practice that we've seen so far, Mike, but he's not happy with his race car. Mark has told me just before the start of this practice session that the car just isn't gripping the racetrack the way he wants it to. And it's been interesting listening to his radio conversations because he's talking to the crew about how the car behaves when he's lower in the racetrack and higher in the racetrack. You didn't used to hear that before they reconfigured the turns at this place.
And Doc, I mean, Mark's sitting there with the 5th quickest time right now, but what a driver like Mark Martin is thinking about is not fast laps right now. It's what's his car going to be like at 100 laps, 400 laps, and to the end of the race, anticipating what he needs that car to feel like then, not now.
Well, Darrell, nobody knows that better than you. It doesn't matter, asphalt, concrete, you won here 12 times. And yeah, you always are looking at the stopwatch and the score monitor, but what you felt is what was more important than anything.
In this practice session right here, I want to make a long run. I want to get a little fuel burned off. I want the tire pressures at max. I want everything in race form so I can analyze my car and tell the crew chief what I think I'm going to need for the race.
A.J. Allmendinger, 24th quickest. 15:99, his best lap.
And in this practice so far, we talked about Casey Kane running the most laps in the first practice. We're about halfway through this final practice session. Jimmy Johnson has run 47 laps, Ryan Newman 46, and Denny Hamlin 45.
Johnson also has the best 5 consecutive laps and the best 10 consecutive lap average.
A couple other guys in that top 5, best 10. That's Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth. Watching both those race cars, they look mighty racy.
Tony Stewart, however, is 26th on the speed chart.
Yeah, I just continue to watch these two cars of Stewart-Haas Racing, Tony Stewart in the 14 and Ryan Newman in the 39. I know Tony comes in here sitting 8th in the points, but there's just still, and we're not talking about a lot, there's just still something a little off with these Stewart-Haas cars here in 2010.
It seems, Larry, like it started about halfway through the chase last year. Did they fall off or did everybody else catch up?
Well, normally it's a combination of both. You know, I look at Roush Fenway last year. They probably ran as good or better than they did in 2008 when they won all those races. It's just everybody else catches up. But this is where Ryan Newman was in such a hole a year ago and then got on a tear starting here of the next 10 races, 8 top 10 finishes. So all it takes is one race to get things headed the other direction.
I think sometimes one of the things that we overlook, and it's big picture, 26 races. I just got to be sure I'm in that top 12 in the points. Don't want to get myself in a hole like some of these guys are got to dig out.
We got a lot of unusual names in that top 12 right now. Menard, Speed, a few others.
Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now inside the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Jimmy Johnson, top speed of this session, 122.29 miles per hour. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed.
You know, as I watch these pictures, which are awesome, man. I mean, we got cameras everywhere. Also listen to that engine. And that's one of the things that I heard Jimmy Johnson say. I have a problem with my rhythm here. And part of the rhythm is to listen to the peak of the engine. It's kind of your warning to let off. And where am I, you know, in the straightaway, and how do you get back in the gas? There's a lot to be said for timing.
Attaboy for Casey Mears. Qualifies for his first Sprint Cup race of 2010. They've attempted all 5. And for he and Terry Cook, they'll be making their first start of the season tomorrow.
Yeah, what's one man's fortune is another man's misfortune. Who missed this show? We had 45 cars here. Mike Bliss in the 36 car and Max Pappas in the 13 car did not qualify yesterday. And As I look at these cars, you know, we're looking at the wing on the back of these cars, and as we know, 3 years ago is where right here at Bristol this car was introduced with that wing. The car's not going away, but at Martinsville next week, our next short track event, we'll be back to that conventional rear spoiler. And what's going on with this 29 car, Krista?
Well, Kevin said his car is just too tight in the center of the turns. They changed a left front spring to help it turn. Kevin came back in. He told crew chief Gil Martin it actually made it worse, made it tighter through the center. Kevin told Gil the entry is edgy, but I don't care about that. I'm worried about the center.
But Darrell, you know, you don't want to be loose in, but if there's a part of this racetrack that driver can control, it's the entrance. You just want to make sure, as I mentioned a while ago, you go through the middle and you can mat that thing up off the corner.
Well, that, in my mind, is the key to success here. Getting back in the gas and be able to stay in the gas up off the corner, not get the back end kicking out or spinning the rear tires. If you can get the car to where maybe it is a little tight right in the center of the corner, but you've got good forward bite, that's going to pay off in the race.
But that driver, he can do a lot to control that entrance.
Well, and you know what you can do best? Just back off a little early and slow down. You're not going to run these kind of laps in the race. The cars are going to slow down a little bit. So you just got to really work on forward bite. That's always what I try to do here.
Kyle Busch continues to search for speed. His best lap 16:29. That's only 2/10 off the quickest lap of the session. But there's Paul Menard.
3 in and off.
Paul Menard with a 16:20, 31st quick.
Tell you the other thing that's really become kind of odd here for Bristol. We'll see some long green flag runs tomorrow. It's gotten to the point where we've actually seen green flag pit stops here, and I can't tell you how long ago it was that we did that.
It's like, though, you're right, in the middle of the race, things kind of settle down, and these guys want to watch some laps wind down, and we possibly will get real close to a green flag stop. You see Marcos Ambrose, great qualifying run yesterday. Marcos qualified 9th, and Montoya, Dick Bergman, he's going to start on the 3rd row.
Yeah, Montoya qualified 6th, and he's having a terrific day today, Larry. He was 2nd quick in this morning's practice, 3rd quick in this practice. He was out of the car moments ago and literally cutting up with the crew. And a moment ago, when he got back in the car, his spotter, Tab Boyd, said, look at that bottom feeder go. We're used to seeing Montoya run up higher, but today he's trying the bottom lane. Montoya got back on the radio and said, yeah, I think Kyle Busch is really driving this car.
Well, what you don't want to do is, if somebody's going to pass you, make them pass you on the outside, because the bottom is still, you know, preferred lines, quickest way around the track, and you're going to be a lot safer. You're going to get a lot better finish if you don't open that bottom up and let somebody stick a nose under you.
But what is the etiquette here, Darrell? Because it's a funny word to use at Bristol, but it seems the slower cars, if they're going to move out of your way, it seems they move to the high side and will give a faster car the bottom.
That's okay. If that's what your deal is and that's what you're going to do, just be sure of one thing. You do it all day long.
Be consistent.
Don't let me catch you one time and you go to the bottom. Next time I catch you, go to the top.
Good point.
You know, pick a line and stay in it.
Got teammates running together there. Scott Speed in the 82 car, Brian Vickers in the 83. Brian is 11th quickest and Scott Speed is 19th quickest. You know, Dick mentioned a name for Montoya, Tab Boyd, and he's a spotter. And we all know the importance of a spotter everywhere we go, especially Daytona and Talladega. But I would say here that the biggest thing, Darrell, I think the spotter has to do here, use the word a lot, is anticipate, because things are happening so fast.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an accident, if you're going down the back straightaway and there's a wreck here in the 3rd turn, good chance you're going to get in it, because the track becomes blocked. Spotters, you know, he's making his best guesstimate. Go high, go low, that car's coming down the track, watch this, watch that. Really and truly, just tell me something I can't see, because I can see right in front of me.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin 7th quickest in this session, which has now been running for about 35 minutes. Next week, don't miss NASCAR Race Hub presented by Hooters. Brian Vickers guests on Monday. Charlotte Spoiler Test is Tuesday's hot topic. And Wednesday, Jimmy Johnson and Darrell Waltrip. It's NASCAR Race Hub nightly, 7:30 Eastern, Monday through Thursday, and only on Speed.
That shot right there that we just saw, I promise you there's not a football stadium in the country that looks like that.
You know what he was saying? It's the concrete.
the seams.
Everything's going jibbity, 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 jibbity. You go across those bumps, those expansion joints, and particularly, when I rode around here the other night, if you get down on the very bottom with your left tires right against the asphalt right there, it's real washboardy. You move up just a little bit, like you can see where the groove is, you avoid that. But if you get right down on that inside, car wants to bounce just a little bit.
And then a couple of things that Alan Gustafson and that crew can work with. Obviously, shock absorbers about as important here as anywhere we go, and then air pressure in the tires, because it just seems like air pressure buildup is magnified to the driver at a place like this.
All day tomorrow you will hear time and time again, I feel like I got 4 basketballs on my car. You know, because the tires build up, and the more air they get in them, the more they chatter. And if you watch Mark, he is absolutely eating up the bottom of the racetrack.
Now, we saw Dave Blaney a bit ago, and that Prism Motorsports team has been a start and park team much of the season. If they have sponsorship, they'll race, but the quarter panels are blank, so it means it's likely that Blaney, who is starting third, we don't know how long he's going to be in the race. Last time at Bristol, he qualified in the top 10. And it was a little dicey with everybody who was running to run the whole race, trying to get around him as he worked his way to the back. Now, last time he started up front, he stayed up front and ran through to the first pit stop right up there with the leaders.
Well, I believe if my plan was to, if I'm not going to run and try to stay up there in the front, I think I might have something that would cause me to want to go to the rear of the field when the green flag drops. If your intentions are not to run the race, then I think you should move out of the way and make room for people that are. And I don't mean that unkindly to them or anything else. It just would be a courteous thing to do. And plus, if you're going to start and park, you don't want to take a chance of getting your car wrecked.
No, gosh, no. Krista?
Well, last time I think you guys talked about Kyle Busch. I think Larry Mack, you mentioned baby steps. Well, the baby is wobbly, but he's still out there walking. In fact, this is about the best Kyle's been all weekend. Last time I looked at the scoring tower, he was registered in 17th. They started loose yesterday, tight this morning. Now Kyle says it's fine, but I'm getting loose on entry.
But you know, Mike, back to what I was talking about Kyle earlier in the show, we had him on trackside last night, and I brought up to him, I felt like this was going to be a good year because he put a lot of issues to rest. You know, he won the Nationwide Series championship. He signed a contract extension with Joe Gibbs. He got engaged to Samantha, and he's running a limited schedule in the other 2 series. But he admittedly said forming Kyle Busch Racing, that 2-team truck team, has taken a pretty big toll on him mentally and without the sponsorship financially.
Larry, I'm watching Mark Martin. Now, we saw his hands, and we saw him talking about the car chattering, bouncing. And what he was doing in the last time he was on the racetrack was running right around the inside of the track, right next to the black asphalt. I think what the team may have told him, they may have made an adjustment. Go back out and don't run quite so low. Try to run above that chatter stuff, because if we try to fix the car for that, and you have to move up the racetrack at all, car's not going to be good.
And that's something that the spotter, like Mark Spotter, Jeremy Brickhouse, that's something that they can play a role in, especially in practice when Mark's in the garage area, is watching other cars.
Yeah, there's nothing any worse than, you know, out there, you're running pretty good, and you say, spotter says, you're running a totally different line than anybody else. And you think, well, I know it's good. And then he's, no, you're slow.
Yeah, right.
You want to move up and run where the other boys are running.
You know, thinking about the, here's David Rudeman 20th, thinking about the Blaney situation, I wouldn't be surprised if, with the speed Blaney has in that car, if he might just stay up with the leader and try to lead a lap, get himself 5 points.
It just seems dicey to me.
Okay.
If your intentions are to come here, make the race, and then, you know, run a few laps and park, I think you'd be better off to do that from the rear, just in case something happened and you got involved in it.
Well, that's true, because then you can always pick up a lap lead on the first caution.
Yeah, I mean, my strategy would be take care of the car first. Be sure I got it to race again at Martinsville next week. Obviously, a pretty good race car.
Dick?
Well, Richard Petty, as you know, has said it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. This tire just came off Juan Pablo Montoya's car. A big cut in it. Imagine if that had happened yesterday during the race. Could have cost him the checkered flag.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to make an unscheduled pit stop here with these cars going around this racetrack at about 15.5, 16 seconds, you're going to go probably close to 3 laps down, and makes for a long day.
And Larry, that's definitely a cut.
Not a
run
tire.
Over something. That's not a tire problem.
Pete's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup Final Practice is brought to you by Honey Nut Cheerios. Be happy, be healthy. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com and click on Design It, enter it. Joey Logano is up into the top 5, displacing Mark Martin. And the Busch brothers, Kyle and Kurt, 18th and 19th right now.
There's a 33 car, and we got the word that they are actually changing the right front spindle. And I certainly would not challenge them on that. You know, I'm sure it's something they've got worked out. But Darrell, when I first heard that, my feeling was when you're changing the right front spindle, which is a major change this late in the final practice, you're kind of in scramble mode.
Well, and you can see how many people are working on the car. Change the spindle, probably have changed A-frames, you know, all the other things that are connected to that. So big change.
David Reagan 24th in this session with 1 lap under 16 seconds.
And back to that spindle change, the biggest thing they've got to try to get accomplished is get Clint back out on the racetrack and not run 4 or 5 laps. Like you said earlier, at least maybe hopefully 15 or 20 laps, but the clock's ticking on them.
Boy, that's going to be tough. Looks like they might be coming down now. They got the hand on the jack. That's good news.
Jimmy Johnson has run a total of 87 laps in this session. Mark Martin has run 80. Tony Stewart 77, and you can see there that Jimmy is not done. Talking to Chad there through the window, and Jimmy, it looks like, wants one more run.
Yeah, I tell you, these guys are working really, really hard on having a good long run race setup, because I think that's where Jimmy struggled a little bit here in the past. It's just on the longer runs, car falls off.
Darrell, I got a little trivia question for you about this 48 car. I mentioned earlier this is one of 6 tracks they've not won at. The other 5 is Michigan, Infineon, Chicago, Watkins Glen, and Homestead. Other than Homestead, can you tell me what those other 5 have in common?
That they haven't won in?
Right.
Are they in the chase?
They're no part of the chase. The only one of those 6 is Homestead. He's never had, I won't say never, but for the most part, he's never had to win at Homestead.
I knew it had to be chase affiliated. What, somehow. That's the way it used to be, you know, back in the day when you look at drivers like me or Dale or whomever, in the last 4 or 5 races of the year, unless you had a big point lead, you didn't win those races. You just finished well in those races. Atlanta comes to mind.
Channel rail band under full compression. Channel rail band initial throttle in the front.
Now, when I hear chatter, it's a couple of things. First of all, that means the car's not, it's going through those bumps that we were talking about, that chattering across the concrete. And that could be the problem. And the other thing could be a camber problem. And I think these guys are probably scared to death of not getting too much camber in these tires.
Yeah, the good thing about this, you don't have very much straightaway. That tends to that takes a toll on a lot of camber in the right front, where it's running on that shoulder for a long time. As Mike mentioned, the shortest straightaways in all of our Sprint Cup Series schedule, only 650 feet. You tend to get a little more aggressive here with camber.
And you can imagine, for a little racetrack, how loaded up that right front feels here. I mean, it feels like it is trying to tear that tire right off the wheel.
Travis Kvapil, 40th on the board.
I like it through the center and off.
And one thing this group's trying to accomplish, like a lot of other teams, after this race, as we go to Martinsville, it's 5 races in the books. They'll go to the current top 35 in owner points, and we've got 17, 33rd through 39th, that are separated by only 48 points headed into this race.
And we'll keep an eye on that all throughout tomorrow's race. Jimmy Johnson continues to lead practice at Bristol. Jimmy Johnson has now run 105 laps. Final tuning it up, and Jamie Mack is in the top 5. He's run 87 laps, 4th quickest. And I had a little dust up here with David Rudiman while we were in break. Watch this.
It's not quite enough room right there for looked like David tried to come down just a skosh, and Jamie had a run on him. That's lucky to get away with that.
Yeah, you can't really say it was this guy's fault, that guy's fault. It's a lot just the nature of this racetrack.
like there's something wrong with Rudiman's car, though, to tell you the truth. Maybe, like you said, he got stuff on his tires about getting up out of the groove, but it seemed like there might have been something else going on.
Krista, how about Casey Mears, who will start his first race of the season tomorrow?
Well, a further testament to how tight quarters are here. Casey Mears' car is actually pitted in the garage. The Nationwide race getting ready to start. The number 60 Nationwide team put their crash cart behind Casey Mears' car. Casey didn't know it, backed into it, and broke the wing. They now have rear body damage on that 90.
Well, it's not the first time that's ever happened. I've seen guys back out of their pit stall here and back into the pit wall. So it is so tight and not a lot of room.
Well, as we anticipated, Clint Boyer, Shane Wilson trying to get that 33 car back out on the racetrack. Documented they changed the right front spindle, which is a pretty major change on a race car. I would say there's a really good chance with only about 3 or 4 minutes to go in this practice, they will run till they see a red and black flag.
Well, they're running 1630s, high 1630s now, Larry. Their best lap was at the start of this session, and that was pretty much a 16 flat.
Well, and here's what you face at Bristol, and we see this every time. Right now, as far as the fastest lap, Jimmy Johnson is fastest at a 15:69. David Gilliland is 30th quickest. His fast lap is 16:03. 3/10 separate the 30 race cars, just like we saw in qualifying yesterday.
Definitely looks like a conveyor belt.
Bobby LeBon in this 71, he's had a rough weekend. Ooh. Qualified dead last yesterday. This is a backup car. He was one of the cars that just lost control in that first practice session when the track didn't have a lot of grip. We actually had Kyle Busch spun out, Jimmy Johnson spun out. This is a backup car for Bobby.
He said when they got here, the track we just didn't have the grip in it that they anticipated. Had a lot of right rear spring in it, and it got away from him. It turned sideways. He said, I was just thinking about turning in, and it jumped sideways.
Kurt Busch and the 2 cars going to start on the outside of the front row, and Dick, they're looking pretty racy right now with happy hour about over.
Well, they sure have been working on that car during this happy hour session. He put a fresh set of tires on it, went out, ran about 2 or 3 laps, said it was a bit better, brought the car in, and then they changed both front shock absorbers and the left rear spring. Their goal, try to get the car to enter the turns better. It's understeering, pushing when they go into the corner, and when he first picks up the throttle. If they can fix that, they should be all set for that second place start tomorrow.
Well, they got a little bit of a bigger challenge than some other teams. They got to cipher two notebooks. They got the one
2 winning notebooks.
Yeah. Which way do we go?
Because Steve Addington, the crew chief for Kurt, won both races here last year with the 18 car and Kyle Busch. That's a pretty good sign right there. Gloves off, little rock to the crew chief, Chad Knaus, like I believe that 48's ready to race, and they've run 116 laps in this practice, and that they're at the top of every chart we have. Fastest lap, 10-lap average, 5-lap average.
And there are the flags. Session's over. Jimmy Johnson wins practice.
And everybody's happy because practice is over.
Pretty incident-free, both practice sessions.
So here's a look at the top 10 fastest individual laps. Johnson and Montoya also top the best 5-lap average chart. Best 10-lap average, Johnson and McMurray and A.J. Allmendinger.
Got a pretty good looking racetrack now, guys. All blackened up, got some rubber in her. Just ready to go.
Food City 500 tomorrow on Fox. Joey Logano starts from the pole. Logano won the first practice. Jimmy Johnson wins the final practice. We'll see you tomorrow with NASCAR on Fox.
Get you a good night's sleep.
You're gonna need it.